Hello, 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 and welcome back to Octo English Academy, the warmest, most encouraging English podcast on the internet. I'm Sophie, and I am so genuinely glad you're here with us today. You are part of something warm here. Let's talk.
Hey everyone, Jamie here. And Sophie, I want to say something honest before we even start. This episode made me feel things while we were preparing it, like genuinely emotional in a way I didn't expect.
Same. I was not ready for how personal this topic would feel.
Because it's not just a concept, it's not just something from a history textbook. For so many people, including so many of our listeners, the American dream is the reason they left, the reason they packed up their life and started over somewhere new. It is the reason.
And whether that dream has been kind to them or hard or somewhere complicated in between, that's what we're exploring today.
Okay, real check-in first, because we always do that. Sophie, how are you feeling today?
Honestly, I'm a little tender today. Tender means emotionally sensitive, a little raw, close to feelings. I was reading some real stories from immigrants while preparing, people who came to America with enormous hope and enormous courage, and I just felt a lot. I felt proud of people I've never met, and I felt sad about systems that make the dream harder than it should be. So I'm carrying a little bit of that today.
That's a beautiful way to come into this conversation. And for me, I'm thoughtful, sitting in that reflective space where you're not quite sure what you believe about something until you start actually saying it out loud.
That's what good conversations do. They help you find out what you think.
Exactly that. And friends, your turn. How are you right now? Full sentence, out loud. Something like, I'm hopeful because I'm working towards something big. Or maybe, I'm tired but still trying. Or, I'm curious because this question feels personal to me. Whatever is true, say it, out loud, in English. Every time you use your voice, you are practicing. Every time you practice, you grow.
And if the American dream is something you think about because it's your dream or your family's dream or the dream that brought you here, this episode is especially for you.
Especially for you.
Today's episode, we are asking one of the most debated, most personal, most loaded questions in American culture. Loaded means full of meaning, emotion, and history, carrying a lot of weight. The question is the American dream still real?
And we want to be clear right away, this is not a political episode. We are not trying to tell you what to think. We are exploring an idea that is central to American culture and to the experience of millions of immigrants, and we're doing it in honest, clear, B1 level English.
We're going to look at what the American dream actually is, where it comes from, what it means, what it promises. Then we're going to look at the honest, complicated picture of whether it still works the way people hope it does. And we're going to do all of this with real vocabulary, real perspective, and real heart.
Because this topic deserves both intellectual honesty and emotional respect. Intellectual means related to thinking and ideas, and there are real people, real lives attached to this question. B1 level throughout. Clear, natural, honest. Pause and rewind whenever you need to.
And before we start, please subscribe to Octo English Academy. Leave us a like, drop a comment, and write us this sentence.
I'm blank from blank, and today I feel blank because blank.
Tell us who you are and how you're doing. We are always reading, and we genuinely love hearing from you.
Let's start at the very beginning. What is the American dream? Where does it come from? Because the phrase gets used so often that it can feel like it has always existed, like it was always obvious, but it has a specific history.
The phrase, the American dream, was actually popularized means made widely known and used, by a historian named James Truslow Adams in 1931. A historian is someone who studies and writes about history. He used it in a book called The Epic of America, And what he described was this: a dream of a land in which life should be better and richer and fuller for every person, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement.
Let's unpack that slowly. Better and richer and fuller for every person, not just the wealthy, not just the born privileged, every person. Opportunity for each according to ability or achievement, meaning what you earn in life should be based on what you can do in what you work for, not on who your parents were or what class you were born into.
Class, in this context, means social and economic status, the level of wealth, education, and opportunity you come from. The American dream is fundamentally about the idea that class should not determine destiny. Destiny means what happens to you in life, where you end up. The dream says where you start should not decide where you finish.
And that idea was, and in many ways still is, genuinely revolutionary. Revolutionary means representing a completely new and dramatic change. In most of human history, and in many parts of the world today, where you are born largely determines where you will stay. The idea that it doesn't have to, that a person can arrive with nothing and build something, is a powerful and genuinely radical promise. Radical means going to the root of something, fundamentally challenging the way things are.
And it drew people, millions of people, from every corner of the world. People who came through Ellis Island in the early 20th century with everything they owned in one bag. People who crossed deserts and oceans. People who left behind everyone they loved because they believed in the promise.
Ellis Island was the immigration station in New York Harbor where millions of immigrants arrived in the late 1800s and early 1900s. It is a deeply symbolic place. Symbolic means representing something larger than itself, a symbol of hope, of arrival, of the beginning of a new life.
And that image, arriving with nothing, building something, is still the emotional heart of the American dream. It is still the story people tell themselves and each other about what America is and what it offers.
But the question we're asking today is, does the reality match the story? Does the promise hold up? And this is where the conversation becomes honest and complicated.
Let's look at what the research shows. Research, studies, data, careful investigation. Research on economic mobility in America tells a nuanced story. Economic mobility means the ability to move between economic levels, from poor to middle class, from middle class to wealthy. Upward mobility is moving up, downward mobility is moving down.
For much of the 20th century, upward mobility in America was genuinely strong. Strong means real, working, demonstrable. A person who worked hard, got an education, and was willing to put in the effort could in many cases achieve a significantly better standard of living than their parents. Standard of living means the level of wealth and comfort in material goods available to a person.
The classic image of this was the first-generation immigrant who arrived with nothing, worked difficult jobs, saved carefully, put their children through school, and watched those children become doctors, lawyers, engineers, professors. That story happened. It is real. It happened for millions of people.
And it still happens. We want to say that clearly. The American dream is not a lie. There are people alive today in every city in America who are living proof of upward mobility, who came from places of real hardship and built lives of real achievement. That is true.
But, and this is the complicated part, the research also shows that it has become harder. Not impossible, harder. Steeper means more difficult to climb, like a hill that has become a mountain.
Some data points that come up again and again in this conversation. First, the cost of education. Education has always been central to the American dream. The idea is, get an education, get a better job, build a better life. But the cost of higher education in America has risen dramatically. Dramatically means by a large, striking amount over the past 40 years. A college education that was affordable for a working-class family in the 1970s may now require decades of debt. Debt means money you owe to someone, money you borrowed and must repay with interest.
Student debt, debt from borrowing money to pay for college, is one of the defining economic issues for younger Americans right now. Millions of people in their 20s, 30s, even 40s are carrying significant student debt that shapes every major financial decision they make: where they live, whether they can buy a house, whether they can start a family.
And the house is the second big piece of this. Home ownership, owning the place you live, not renting, is traditionally one of the most iconic images of the American dream. A house with a yard, a place that is yours, stability, roots, something to pass on to your children.
But home ownership has become significantly harder to access. The cost of housing in many American cities has risen so dramatically that even people with good jobs, good education, and good income struggle to afford a home. Afford means have enough money for. In cities like San Francisco, New York, Los Angeles, Seattle, buying a home requires an amount of money that puts it out of reach for most middle-income families. Middle income means earning a moderate amount, neither very rich nor very poor.
And this matters deeply for immigrants in particular, because so many people came to America dreaming of exactly that house, that stability. And when they arrive and see the reality of housing costs, especially in the cities with the most opportunity, there's a real sense of the goalposts moving. Goalposts moving means the target keeps shifting further away just when you thought you were getting close.
That phrase captures something emotionally true about the experience of many immigrants. You work toward the dream, you achieve something real, and then you look up and the next marker of success, the house, the retirement security, the college fund for your children, feels just as far away as before.
And yet, this is where the conversation gets genuinely complicated, because the other side of this is real too.
Tell me.
The other side is that compared to many places in the world, the United States still offers remarkable opportunity for people willing to work, to build skills, to take risks. Remarkable means worthy of attention, impressive, standing out from the ordinary. The infrastructure for entrepreneurship, starting your own business, is genuinely strong. Entrepreneurship means the activity of creating and running a business, taking financial risks in the hope of profit. Profit means making more money than you spend.
America has a culture that celebrates entrepreneurship in a way that many other countries simply don't. Failure is not the end of the story in American business culture the way it might be in more risk-averse cultures. Risk-averse means avoiding risk, preferring safety and certainty. In America, the person who failed at 3 businesses and then succeeded on the 4th is often celebrated. Their failures are reframed. Reframed means presented in a new way, from a new angle, as experience, as education, as the path that led to eventual success.
And for immigrants specifically, there's a body of research suggesting that immigrants in America, on average, show higher rates of entrepreneurship than native-born Americans. Higher rates means more of them are starting businesses per capita. Per capita means per person, calculated as a proportion of the population.
Which makes sense when you think about it. The people who chose to leave, who chose the risk of starting over in an unfamiliar country, those are already self-selected for risk tolerance, for ambition, for resilience. Self-selected means they filtered themselves in by making that choice.
And the immigrant experience, knowing more than one language, understanding more than one culture, having navigated systems that were never designed for you, those are genuinely valuable skills in a global economy. A global economy means the interconnected system of production, trade, and finance that links countries around the world.
So the picture is harder than it was, more expensive, more unequal. Unequal means not the same for everyone, with some people having significantly more access to opportunity than others, but not gone, not dead, and for some people, many people, still genuinely transformative. Transformative means causing a complete and powerful change.
There's a phrase that comes up a lot in this conversation: land of opportunity. America is often called the land of opportunity. That phrase is a direct expression of the American dream idea that this land offers chances, possibilities, openings that might not exist elsewhere.
And the honest answer to whether that's still true is it depends. It depends on your field, it depends on your city, it depends on your industry, your network, your education, your documentation status. Documentation status meaning whether you have legal permission to live and work in the country, your race, your class background, your access to capital. Capital means money and resources available to invest.
And that list of dependencies, all the things it depends on, is itself part of the honest conversation, because the original promise of the American dream was that it shouldn't depend on those things, that opportunities should be available regardless. The gap between that promise and that reality is where a lot of the debate lives.
There's a phrase for this gap, the difference between the ideal and the reality. The phrase is the American dream deferred. Deferred means postponed, pushed back, not yet arrived. The poet Langston Hughes wrote about this in 1951. He asked, what happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up? Does it fester? He was writing specifically about the experience of Black Americans whose access to the American dream had been systematically blocked. Systematically means in an organized, deliberate, structural way, not just individual accidents, but built into the system.
And that history is part of this conversation too. The American dream was not equally available to everyone from the beginning. For much of American history, legal and social barriers means obstacles, things that block your path, kept entire groups of people from accessing the opportunities the dream promised. Women, Black Americans, Asian Americans, indigenous peoples, immigrants from certain countries all faced formal and informal exclusion. Exclusion means being kept out, not being allowed in.
Formal exclusion means legal, actual laws that said you could not vote, could not own property, could not access certain schools or jobs. Informal exclusion means social, the prejudice, the discrimination, the doors that were closed not by law but by attitude and custom.
These barriers have been challenged, fought, and in many cases reduced, but not eliminated. Eliminated means completely removed. And understanding this history is part of understanding what the American dream means today, who it has served, who it has excluded, and how that shapes the present.
So what do people believe today? What does the polling means surveys asking large numbers of people the same questions. What does the polling say about whether Americans still believe in the American dream?
The picture is fascinating. Survey after survey shows that a majority of Americans, majority means more than half, still say they believe in the American dream. They still believe that hard work and determination can lead to a better life. That belief is remarkably resilient. Resilient means able to survive difficulty and keep going, even in the face of economic challenges.
But the same surveys show a growing sense, especially among younger Americans, that the path to the dream has become much harder for the current generation than it was for their parents or grandparents. A growing sense means more and more people feeling this way over time.
And there's a word for this feeling: nostalgia. Nostalgia means a longing for the past, a bittersweet feeling that things used to be better or simpler. There's a nostalgia in America for a time, real or imagined, when the promise felt more reachable, when a single income could buy a house and raise a family and send children to college.
Bittersweet. That's a beautiful word. Bitter means painful. Sweet means good. Bittersweet means both at once. Something that is good and painful at the same time, like remembering a time that you loved but can't return to.
And immigrants often have a complex relationship with this nostalgia, because for many, the America they dreamed of before arriving was the nostalgic version, the golden promise. And the America they find when they arrive is the real one, with its beauty and its difficulty and its contradictions.
Contradictions. That's such an important word for America. A contradiction is when two opposite things are true at the same time. America is extraordinarily generous and deeply unequal. It celebrates individuality and can be profoundly conformist. Conformist means pressure to fit in, to be like everyone else. It was built by immigrants and has a complicated history with immigration. These contradictions coexist. They exist at the same time, side by side.
And perhaps that complexity, that coexistence of contradictions, is part of what the American dream really is. Not a simple promise, not a guaranteed outcome, but an ongoing argument about what America should be. An aspiration. Aspiration means a hope, a goal, something you're reaching toward, that keeps being tested against reality and keeps being renewed by the people who arrive still believing in it.
The people who still come, still cross, still start over, still believe.
That belief is not naive. It is not ignorant of the difficulties. It is a choice, a conscious, costly, courageous choice to bet on possibility rather than certainty.
And maybe that is what the American dream really is. Not a guarantee, a bet. A brave, ongoing, imperfect, still alive bet on what human potential can do when given even a partial opening.
I think that's right. Let's slow down now. Let's breathe. Today's episode was rich. Let's slow down now. Let's breathe. Today's episode was rich, historically, emotionally, intellectually. And we want these words to settle in you gently, our soft word tour.
Like letting the conversation rest, quietly, warmly.
Word 1, upward mobility. The ability to move to a higher economic level, from less to more, from struggle to stability. Her parents came with nothing. Her story is a real example of upward mobility.
Word 2, aspiration. A strong hope or goal, something you are working toward, reaching for. The American dream is less a guarantee and more a shared aspiration.
Word 3, deferred. Postponed, pushed back, not yet fulfilled. For many people, the dream has been deferred, not destroyed, but delayed.
Word 4, entrepreneurship. The activity of creating and running a business, taking risks in hope of building something. Immigrants show high rates of entrepreneurship in America.
Word 5, contradiction. When two opposite things are true at the same time. America is full of contradictions, and understanding them is part of understanding the culture.
Word 6, resilient. Able to survive difficulty, to keep going after hardship. The belief in the American dream has proven remarkably resilient despite real economic challenges.
And word 7, bittersweet. Good and painful at the same time. Something that carries both joy and sadness. The immigrant experience is often bittersweet, beautiful and hard at once.
7 words, all of them real, all of them carrying the weight of something true.
Pick one, the one that feels most live for you today. Make one sentence with it. Say it out loud. Write it in the comments. Let it live in your English.
I said at the beginning that this episode made me feel things, and sitting here now, at the end of it, I feel something I can only describe as deep respect.
Tell me.
Deep respect for everyone who has ever packed a bag and started over, who learned a new language as an adult, who sat in offices not understanding the unwritten rules, who sent money home, who worked 2 jobs, who did all of that and still believed, still tried.
That is not naive. That is one of the most courageous things a human being can do.
And if that is you, if you are in the middle of that story right now, we see you. We really see you.
The dream may be harder than advertised. The path may be steeper than the brochure suggested. And it may be more complicated than either the believers or the critics fully acknowledge, but it is not nothing, and the people pursuing it are not nothing. They are some of the most determined, most resilient, most quietly extraordinary people in the world.
One small step at a time. That is always how something big gets built.
You are part of this community, the Octo English Academy family. People from every country, every background, every story. Learning English, learning a new culture, building something. You belong here.
Share this episode if it moved you. If you know someone asking this question about whether it's worth it, whether the dream is real, share it with them. Sometimes it helps just to hear the conversation.
Subscribe, like, comment, and leave us your sentence. We're always here. And this was the Octo English Academy. See you in the next episode. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone. And remember, the dream was never a guarantee. It was always a possibility. And possibility is enough to start.